There is this new trend of Americans moving back to Africa, and this is mostly black Americans or people of color. Now, it's a very good thing that at least they are planning or they are moving to Africa, and social media has made people understand that Africa is so beautiful. Africa has so many opportunities. Africa is not as it has been portrayed over the years. And people are just getting this awakening that Africa is one of the best places to be. It has so much to offer. In as much as Africans look poor, or maybe there is some kind of poverty that is associated with Africa, people are getting to realize that that is not true, and it it is very prudent that people know that Africa is not poor as maybe we have thought for a long time, or maybe as the media has tried to portray Africa. So I want to urge my African brothers that we have an opportunity here. And this is the opportunity. Very soon there'll be gentrification of Nairobi. And I'll start with Nairobi. Have you guys realized that Nairobi is the hub for... So in Africa, Nairobi hosts the United Nations headquarters, which is the... I think that office, the UN office in Nairobi is the UNEP and UN Habitat, if I am not wrong, amongst other offices. The other office is in Geneva, and then there's one in New York. So that really places Nairobi on the map. Nairobi is the hub for a lot of NGOs and a lot of diplomatic missions, especially every diplomatic mission that needs some gateway into Africa, then they are probably hosted in Nairobi. Nairobi has huge companies, huge international companies. For example, Microsoft is already set up in Nairobi and stuff. So if you look at videos of black Americans coming into Nairobi, you'll realize that they're liking Nairobi for what it is. They are realizing that Nairobi is not what they thought it was, or maybe it's just better than what they've been thinking. Especially Westlands, they come into Westlands and they're so amazed by the facilities, how the lifestyle. Some of them can even access Uber, which people I think find very interesting, because some of them didn't think they could find things like that. But yes, that is what happens when they go there. So if you look at the way this goes, is that very soon, because I've seen a lot of people encouraging black Americans to come into Nairobi and live there, buy property, invest, and just get established in Nairobi. And that's easy because they could buy land directly or through proxies, and then they could stay. They don't even need a visa to get into Nairobi. I think, for example, in this case, I'll use Americans. I think they need just an ETA, that is an electronic travel authorization, to come into the country. So that makes it very easy for them, first of all, to get into the country. And then it's also not very hard for them to rent houses or apartments, and probably just buying land if they have the rightful papers, rightful documentation, rightful prerequisite things, and then they can buy land and build. So gentrification comes in when the people coming into Nairobi have a higher purchasing power. For example, if Americans come to Nairobi, they'll be having the dollar, and the dollar has more strength than the Kenyan shilling, and that makes housing very expensive for the locals. And you can see Nairobi is very, very expensive to rent. The houses that have enough space for maybe a normal living are very expensive. Most of people cannot afford, and with the time, the locals are pushed into the suburban areas or maybe the slums, and that is something that you can see in Nairobi. Everyone in Nairobi complains of how bad the economy is, how expensive things are. But yes, that is because of the gentrification again, like I said. Because look at a place like Runda and Gigiri and Roslyn, that area of Mudaiga. That place hosts a lot of foreigners, and these foreigners are not just foreigners who are paid in Kenyan shillings. Most of the time they are paid in dollars, in USD, because they are there for the diplomatic missions, and a lot of embassies are around that area as well. So that area becomes very expensive for an ordinary local Kenyan to afford even a house, let alone purchasing land. Just even renting that place would be very, very hard. So the opportunity that comes here is those people who have land. You can build houses and invest in real estate. Now, sometimes real estate is not the best investment, because if you can't maintain the property, or if you can't get customers, it might be like dead asset or something like that. But yes, again, if you have land, you can do farming. Now, farming is a very good way to make money, and only if it is in large scale. But sometimes you don't need to do it in large scale. You need to do it in small scale and find cooperatives. Join the cooperatives, and they will help you to sell, market, and get some subsidies for your venture. Right now, China has kind of put an agreement with Kenya or something like that, where you can import zero-rated products. You can export to China zero-rated products, and that means that you won't have to pay some taxes for your goods getting into China, and these are agricultural goods. Now, that has been in the case for the US for a while, because we've had the AGOA agreement. I think that is African something. There's an agreement between African countries and the US, where for a long time, I think it's been more than 3 decades, if I'm not wrong, where products can be sold into the US from Africa, especially from Kenya, and these products are taxed less, or rather some of them can be exported to the US without some taxes, making it easier for locals, that is Kenyans, to export goods into the US. So that similar agreement is now in existence between China and Kenya. And that is, I'm not telling you because I'm an expert in that, but I'm telling you from the little information I've gathered. So that means that if you have some piece of land somewhere, you can start producing agricultural goods. You can start having your agricultural produce in place, and export them to China. So, for example, you may be having an acre of land, and you see, an acre of land will not give you much produce. But if you had 1 acre of land and decided to put something like rosemary, that I don't know, the rosemary is a spice or it's a what, but it has very nice, a very, very good smell. So yes, if you had like an acre of land and put in it rosemary, you'd get so much produce from that. And there are people who do that business. It's just that a lot of people also get keep. So because no one wants you to be richer than them, so they'll try to get keep information so that you do not get to that information. So yes, you can have that kind of ventures, join cooperatives if you do not have a huge piece of land, and just get out there. There's a lot of information on social media. You can get that from the government. It's just that sometimes people get lazy, they don't want to get there. But we need to take up these opportunities. We need to build houses that people can rent if you have the land. And if the land is not enough, then we can venture into farming. The results are not immediate, and so you have to be ready. Just get out there and try to do as much as we can. This is the opportunity that probably we have been waiting for. It's an opportunity that is worth dying for, and I think this is the time. Let us get into the works, and then I really think we will achieve so much once that is put in place. Otherwise, thank you so much. Adios.